Okay, so imagine you're hiking, through the Rocky Mountains, crisp air, and snow-capped peaks.
Yeah.
Majestic, right?
Oh,
And suddenly you come across this ancient forest,
wow.
perfectly preserved, just emerging from the melting ice. We're talking like a real-life time capsule from 6,000 years ago.
That's older than the pyramid.
Older than the pyramid.
Yeah.
So today, we are diving into the discovery of this ancient whitebark pine forest high above the current tree line
Right.
in Wyoming's Beartooth Plateau. And trust me, this isn't just about some old trees.
Yeah.
This forest is a window into a warmer past, whispers about ancient humans, and maybe even holds some warnings for our future.
It's incredible because this isn't just some made-up story. Researchers really did discover this 6,000-year-old forest, and the trees are so well preserved they almost look like they could spring back to life.
Right. It's mind-blowing. And it makes you wonder, if these trees could talk, what stories would they tell?
Oh, yeah.
But beyond the wow factor, this discovery tells us something crucial about how Earth's climate can shift, because whitebark pines simply can't grow at that elevation today.
Right.
The fact that a whole forest thrived there thousands of years ago shows us just how dramatically temperatures have fluctuated in the past.
Exactly. This points to a period around 6,000 years ago called the mid-Holocene, when the climate was much warmer, similar to what's projected for the late 21st century. And get this, they found a 10,000-year-old spear shaft near the forest. So not only are we learning about ancient climate, but we're also getting hints about human presence in this high-altitude environment way back then.
So we're talking about a time when the climate was significantly warmer than today. Humans were potentially living in this high-altitude environment, and a whole forest was thriving where it couldn't survive. Now it really makes you think, what else can we learn from this discovery? What details help us understand the bigger picture?
Well, the fact that the trees are so well preserved suggests that there were periods of rapid cooling after that initial warming. It's almost as if these cooling events froze the trees, capturing them in time.
Okay, so it wasn't a gradual warming trend. There were these dramatic swings in temperature.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
What did that tell us about climate change overall?
It challenges the assumption that climate change always happens slowly and predictably. This finding highlights the complexity of climate systems and reminds us that there can be abrupt shifts and surprises along the way.
So we can't just look at long-term trends. We need to consider these potential rapid fluctuations, especially if we're trying to understand how our planet might respond to future warming. This ancient forest is almost like a crystal ball showing us what our own mountains might look like in the future. That's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
And that's just the beginning. What's particularly intriguing is how ecosystems adapt or don't adapt to these changes. For example, with rising temperatures, we could see trees like these whitebark pines migrating upslope, potentially competing with existing species and changing the entire makeup of these environments.
It sounds like it could have a domino effect on the whole ecosystem.
Exactly. And the higher the elevation, the more specialized and fragile the ecosystems become. Think about the delicate balance of plant and animal life in those high-altitude areas. If trees start encroaching on their territory, it could disrupt everything.
What specific changes in plant and animal life might we expect to see as temperatures continue to rise? Are there any historical parallels we can draw on to understand these potential shifts? So we're potentially talking about like a cascade of changes, trees moving upslope, delicate alpine meadows being overtaken by forests, and this ripple effect impacting everything from wildflowers to the animals that depend on them.
Precisely during the mid-Holocene, when this ancient forest was thriving, we know that plant and animal communities were different than what we see today, for example. There's evidence suggesting that bison, which are now found primarily in lower elevations, actually roamed in these high-altitude areas during that warmer period.
Wow. Bison hanging out in the alpine. That's a pretty vivid image.
Yeah.
So as temperatures rise, we could see similar shifts in species distribution, with some animals expanding their range upslope while others get squeezed out. It's just like a game of musical chairs. But with entire ecosystems, what happens to the species that are already adapted to those high-altitude conditions, the ones that can't just pack up and move?
That's a critical point, and it's one of the major concerns surrounding climate change. Some species might be able to adapt, but others may face extinction if their habitat disappears. Imagine a species of butterfly that's specifically adapted to pollinate a rare alpine flower. If that flower's habitat gets overtaken by trees, the butterfly could vanish along with it.
That's a sobering thought, and it highlights the interconnectedness of all living things, that delicate balance of nature that we often take for granted. It's not just about temperature increases. It's about the potential for cascading effects that could reshape entire ecosystems.
And it's not just about the loss of individual species. Biodiversity loss can have far-reaching consequences for the entire ecosystem. It can disrupt food webs, reduce the resilience of ecosystems to disturbances like drought or disease, and even impact things like water quality and soil fertility.
So when we talk about climate change, we're not just talking about melting glaciers and rising sea levels. We're talking about a fundamental shift in the fabric of life on Earth. It's a pretty daunting picture. But I'm curious, are there any positive lessons we can draw from this ancient forest discovery? Can it offer us any guidance as we navigate these challenges?
Absolutely. This discovery underscores the incredible resilience of nature. Despite dramatic climate fluctuations in the past, life found a way to adapt and thrive. It's a testament to the power of evolution and the interconnectedness of ecosystems.
That's reassuring in a way. It means that nature has a remarkable capacity to adjust and bounce back.
Exactly, and that resilience gives us hope. But it's important to remember that the changes we're seeing now are happening at an unprecedented rate. The speed of warming today is faster than anything in the past, which means ecosystems may struggle to adapt quickly enough.
So it's not just about the magnitude of the changes. It's about the pace at which they're occurring that makes sense. And it brings us back to the question of what we can do to mitigate these impacts if we know that trees might migrate upslope, that ecosystems are going to be disrupted, and that biodiversity is at risk. What steps can we take to prepare and protect these vulnerable environments?
Well, there are a number of approaches we can consider. First and foremost, we need to address the root cause of the problem, climate change itself. That means reducing our carbon emissions and transitioning to cleaner sources of energy.
Right, that's the big picture solution. But even as we work to slow down climate change, we also need to think about how to help ecosystems adapt to the changes that are already happening. What kind of strategies are we talking about?
One approach is assisted migration, where we help species move to more suitable habitats. This could involve physically relocating plants or animals or creating corridors to facilitate their movement.
So we're essentially giving nature a helping hand.
In a way, yes, but it's a complex issue with potential drawbacks. We have to carefully consider the potential consequences of introducing a species to a new environment, making sure it won't become invasive or disrupt the existing ecosystem.
That makes sense. It's about finding a balance between intervention and letting nature run its course. Are there other strategies we can use to protect these ecosystems?
Another important approach is creating protected areas, especially in biodiversity hotspots, by setting aside land that's off limits to development. We can safeguard critical habitats and give species a better chance of survival.
So it's about creating safe havens for these vulnerable species. That seems like a crucial part of the solution, but it also sounds like a massive undertaking. How do we even begin to tackle something this big?
It's certainly a daunting task, but it's not insurmountable. The key is to approach it from multiple angles. We need to reduce our carbon footprint, invest in research and monitoring to understand the changes that are happening, implement strategies like assisted migration in protected areas, and perhaps most importantly, raise awareness about the importance of biodiversity and the role it plays in maintaining a healthy planet.
It sounds like there's no easy solution, but there's definitely hope if we act decisively and collaboratively. This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me. I've gone from picturing a beautiful ancient forest emerging from the ice to contemplating the complex web of life and the challenges we face in a warming world.
And that's the power of discovery, isn't it? It leads us to ask new questions, to see the interconnectedness of things, and to recognize our own role in shaping the future.
This deep dive into the ancient whitebark pine forest has been a journey through time, a glimpse into a warmer past, and a stark reminder of the potential consequences of our actions today. But it's also been a journey of hope, highlighting the resilience of nature and the power of human ingenuity to find solutions now as we move into the final part of our discussion. I want to shift our focus from the past and present to the future. What does this discovery mean for you, the listener, in your own life? How can you connect with this story on a personal level? So we've been talking about these big picture solutions, right? Like reducing carbon emissions and protecting biodiversity hotspots.
Yeah.
But it's easy to feel kind of overwhelmed by the scale of the problem.
Right.
So let's bring it down to earth. Literally, what can you as an individual do to make a difference?
That's a great question, and it's one we all grapple with. The truth is, individual actions do matter. You can start by reducing your own carbon footprint. Think about things like using public transportation, biking, or walking instead of driving whenever possible, or reducing energy consumption at home by using energy-efficient appliances, and just being mindful of your energy usage.
Those are everyday choices that can add up to a real impact. And it's not just about what you do, but it's about what you choose to support.
Yeah.
You can vote for leaders who prioritize climate action and support businesses that are committed to sustainability.
Right, and you can advocate for change in your own community, talk to your friends and family about these issues, get involved with local organizations that are working on environmental conservation. Even small actions can create a ripple effect.
It's about raising awareness, changing habits,
Yeah.
making conscious choices that align with a more sustainable future. And here's a thought-provoking connection to this ancient forest we've been discussing. Remember how those trees were perfectly preserved by rapid cooling events? Well, in a way, we're facing a similar situation today. The decisions we make now will have long-lasting consequences for generations to come. It's like we're creating our own time capsule, a legacy that will be unearthed thousands of years from now.
That's a powerful analogy, and it really underscores the urgency of taking action. We have the opportunity to shape the future, to create a legacy that reflects our understanding of the interconnectedness of life and our commitment to preserving the planet for future generations.
So as you go about your day, just consider the choices you make and the impact they have. What kind of world do you want to leave behind? What story will your actions tell? Remember the ancient whitebark pine forest, a testament to the resilience of nature and a reminder of the profound impact climate change can have on our world. Take a moment to appreciate the interconnectedness of life, that delicate balance of ecosystems and the power we have to make a difference. This deep dive has taken us from the breathtaking heights of the Rocky Mountains to the depths of our own individual responsibility. It's been a journey of discovery, reflection, and ultimately hope. Thanks for joining us on this exploration.